Do you have a hard time doing a pistol squat or ever wanted to do a pistol squat but you can't? In this video, I'm gonna go over one concept that you can start to do to get you there. What's going on? This is Dr. Nick Bonforte, and in this video, I will be going over one key concept that you have to understand to eventually get you to do a pistol squat. Now, when we're talking about doing a pistol squat, there is many things to consider. There's a very large mobility component to this and a strength component to this. In this video, we're gonna be going over the strength component and how to progress throughout this. Now, speaking personally, I have always struggled with the pistol squat. Specifically, my mobility was very, very bad. I'm still working on it, and I've progressed to the point where I can do a pistol squat down to a yoga block. But in this case, we're gonna be going over some modifications you could be doing to progress yourself throughout this motion. Okay, so to start, you want to get a box or a bench that you can actually control yourself down to and stand up to. So for an example, we'll use a hypothetical situation of this is the only part where I could do a pistol squat to, or this is the only part. So in this case, a simple thing you want to do to get your starting point is kick the leg out and go down like you're doing a pistol squat. Now, if you can go down to the box and come up with a nice controlled motion just like this, you already own that range of motion in terms of your strength, so that you would go lower. So in this case, for an example, this would be a lower part that I would be going to. So you do the same concept. You'd kick your leg out, you go down to the box, and then you stand up. So if you can control this motion going down and up, you know you own that range of motion. So in your specific situation, you want to monitor where you can actually go to and stand up. For an example, if I'm going down like this, and I'm struggling, I'm falling, and you can't get up from this part, then you know this is a little bit too much of a range of motion that you would have to then progress up to. So something a little bit higher. So in this video, we're just gonna be using the box as this example. So the first step is figuring out where you can actually go down to and lift off from. That is your starting point. Now from here, this is the part where you're gonna be focusing on working out of. Now, the idea is you want to get yourself preset in a pistol squat position, because if we just go lower and lower and lower, we would be down into a regular pistol. I'm just in an elevated position. But if I rock all the way down, that would be a pistol position right there. So we start here, and now the concept is we're just working on the end range of motion that we can obtain that's not too low. So from here, keeping your leg locked out, you want to squeeze your quad, lift the leg up a little bit so you're activating like it would be in a pistol because it's not on the floor. You'd kick it off the ground, and then from there you just lean forward and stand up. Then on the descent, you want to go down slow, so we're working on an eccentric component, building more strength. If we just flop down like that, there's no time under tension for the muscle to actually work. So from here, in a standing position, we want to lower on, say, a 3-second count, but the eccentric portion could be it could be longer. It could be 5 seconds, it could be 10 seconds. More time under tension. So from here, we would go on a 3-second count. So 3, 2, 1. We hit the box, this isn't touching the floor, and then we come up. And then 3, 2, 1, and then come up. What we're doing is training the body how to function in that range of motion to then work out of. So we're presetting ourselves in a position we actually can own that's a little bit challenging and working on the strength component in that part versus going too far, going into a compensation and not being able to build strength out of it. Now, building into this concept, after you do the range of motion that you can actually go into, you then want to progress yourself to a point where you can't necessarily get out of. Then we're working at the end range of motion and building strength there so that we can progress out of it. So in this hypothetical situation, imagine that I couldn't stand up from here. This would be too low for me. So in your situation, when you're figuring it out, you'd go down to a box, and then as soon as you start to stand up, you would struggle and you can't stand up. That would be your end range. And then this is where you would be. Now the concept here is we get in this position and we're building an isometric foundation. When we build an isometric foundation, we'll be able to produce force out of it because it's our sticking point. So think about it, if another scenario, if we're doing bench pressing. If we're doing bench pressing and we struggle to get out of the bench because there's too much weight and we can't push off, a thing to do in that case is isometrically work that range of motion for a little bit of time. And once you do that training, you'll be able to push through that sticking point because we're building a good isometric foundation. Another way to think about it is shooting a cannon. Where would you want to shoot it out of? A rowboat on water or a good cement foundation? So we're building that good foundation. So in this concept, we're here like this. Now from here, we're going to be using a little bit of momentum to then help us here. Now we could also be holding on to some support. We could also hold on to some counterweight, but the idea is we're on something that's very supported and we're working on this range. So from here, I'm just gonna rock a little bit to gain a little bit of momentum and bring my butt off the box just an inch or so. And I would want to hold that for an isometric for about 1 to 2 seconds. So I'm here, I'm gonna rock a little bit, 1, 2, and then come off of it. 1, 2, and then come off of it. 1, 2, and then come off of it. What I'm doing as I rock off and I lift my butt off the box, I'm using my leg to stabilize throughout that motion. Now over time, this helps build that isometric strength so that next time you get in this range of motion, you can power through it and actually stand up versus not being able to. So you get into that position. From here, we rock, 1, 2, hold. 1, 2, and hold while this leg is being straight. We're just presetting into that pistol position. So I'm really working this leg isometrically and building that foundation. So I hope you have a better understanding of this concept of how to improve your pistol squat, whether you're struggling to do it or you want to get lower. These concepts that we're going over in this video is demonstrating things that you could start to do to then eventually get you there. Are there other things that you have to work on? Most likely, probably. You got to work on mobility, most likely, and strength at the same time. In this video, we just worked on the strength component. So the idea is we're getting into a range of motion to start with that we can control and building adaptation and more time under tension to the muscle so that it can build more strength. That way, you're building more capacity to actually move in that range of motion. Then progressing on that concept is lowering yourself into a position that you can't necessarily get out of. Then from there, whether it's with support, holding onto something, or a counterweight, you're using a little bit of momentum to get your weight onto the leg to adapt it isometrically. Building a good isometric foundation into a range of motion that you don't own at the moment helps you in the long run, because when you build that strength and that isometric foundation in a lower range of motion, eventually over time, as you keep building strength, you'll be able to go through that sticking point of yours and ultimately get lower into your pistol squat. Hopefully these exercises give you some value and insight, and I really do hope you gained and learned throughout this video. If you did find value in this video, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe down to my channel below, like this video, leave any comments down in the comment section, and I'll get back to them. And let me know if this was helpful and what exercises or other videos you'd like to see from me. Until next time, this is Dr. Nick.